Frank Kitchen, we are live. It is all yours, my brother.
Hey, welcome everybody. We are here with three bald speakers. And as you notice, this week's a little different, just like the last time. We've got two of us, but the third one should be dropping in soon. But we're here to talk about family, laughs, pop culture, and lollipops.
That's right.
So today we're going to switch gears. Ramon's been leading the charge here for so long, but today they've passed on I guess hosting would be the best way to call this. I don't know if it's really hosting, it's more, it's conversation. Like you said, it's us riffing, but we're here today just to kind of, just talk about what's, going on in the world right now, whether it means with our family, with business, because we know we are speakers, we are entrepreneurs, we're family men, and we want to just go ahead and touch on what's, on the top of our minds. And right now, Ramon, I'm going to throw it over. Like the most obvious one right now it's Black History Month. So let's talk about that one. What does Black History Month mean to you? Like, how did you grow up, experience Black History Month?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell you that. I'm going to click on these comments. Oh, Paloma's there. Let me just do a show from her. Hey, thank you, Paloma. Thank you for being here all the way from Europe, I think. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for being here. So I can't wait till StreamYard enables multiple hosts to do multiple things because, it's like I know Robert, right? He was the baller talking and at the same time. But I just want to give a quick shout out. Scott Walpole, what's up, Scott? Wow, blast in the past. Thanks for being here. And Frida, who's amazing business coach and more. So Frida, thanks for being here. But indeed, to answer that question, Frank, and I'll give you time to type, do what you need to do as well. No, It is Black History Month. And I think here's why it's important. Listen, there's been a lot of people that have been disenfranchised throughout history globally, for sure. In the American context, as many people know, we've had the struggles with black and white over the last many years, especially you have slavery, which is obvious, but then even equally worse, the Jim Crow laws, where a lot of things were put down, I'll put it that way, Frank, meaning a lot of things were not brought to the light. Who invented what? Who really led something, as it were? So I think for me, when I think of Black History Month, I think it's a time of celebration. It's a time to try to right some wrongs and things of that nature. You're welcome, Frida. And I think for me, I'll give you a little peek into my background, Frank. I was born in the Midwest. Small town in the Midwest, one of the Midwestern states. And I was the only black family in the midst of bulk of white family in a small town. So I, not in a bad way necessarily, didn't even realize, Frank, that I was black until I moved. If that kind of makes sense, meaning that my best friend was white. In fact, he's a weather person, weatherman, whatever you want to call it, a meteorologist is the word, in Kentucky. So we're similar age. So to me, Black history, I think growing up, didn't realize how important it was because my parents shielded me for a lot of negativity and what they experienced. But now as an adult today, it's pretty cool just to see the progress we've made. A lot more to go, but I tend to look at the glass half full, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me because I feel the same way as you. If you didn't know about me, I was a diversity director at a college. And one of the big deals, as far as putting on activities and education was Black History Month. And obviously right now I've been watching social media and we've got everybody who are debating, should we have Black History Month? Black History Month is 365 days a year. Why do we limit it to the shortest month of the year? I mean, it's interesting to watch all these debates, but the big piece is I really think there's a lot of people who are looking for perfection. And you and I know, just because we're believers, that there is no perfect human being. There is no perfect, and we have to go with what's best. And I would rather have a Black History Month to showcase and spotlight all the amazing things that have happened in our history here in this country versus to have nothing at all.
Yes. That's so true, Frank. And I think you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned this, but something I'm going to pull out of what you said. I think some people, and I've been caught in this before as well, that think because I'm celebrating Frank, means I'm putting down Ramon. No, that just means it's Frank's turn to shine today. So I think for me, that's what it means. And I think that's how we make the world a better place. We can celebrate all of us. And I think especially, though, those that historically have been, a big word, disenfranchised, have been discriminated against. It's that time to do our best to shine the light, to say, hey, listen, if you grew up thinking that only this type of people were good, only this type of hair was good, only this type of nose meant this, things of that nature, there's much more to be said for, because I think that's what it means to me. And I must say, as a black man myself, I've had to be, I wouldn't say educated, Frank, but I think have more empathy, because in fairness, as I posted, I grew up in a middle-class home, grew up just privileged, as it were, not up, I don't want to say, but privileged. And so I've had to have more empathy towards struggles that others have had. And Paloma says Black History Month is really studied here in the UK. Absolutely. UK has done very good, I think, from what I've heard from my friends, kind of, they don't have the same issues, different issues they have than we have here in the States, Frank.
Yeah. And as you said, the main purpose, when my feeling, everybody, this isn't, whoever put Black History Month together, but the main purpose of Black History Month tends to be growth. We're going to be growing socially, spiritually, just learning history. I was a history major in college, and the big thing is there's a lot of things that are brushed under the carpet. And when you really dig deep into what Black History Month is about, my wife comes from a Hispanic background. So for her, it's really interesting for her to go dig in because of our children now being of mixed culture to really understand, why my family's from the South. So why we act certain ways and what we talk about, what our experiences, were. And she digs deep and she learns it, but then she also finds the commonalities between how her family, was raised and why they act certain ways. So the big piece is growth. And that's why we do this right here. The two bald speakers today is we have to have these open discussions so that we can all grow. And if we want to go ahead and quote, push it up under and look for the negative or the imperfections, we have no chances to grow.
Well, that's powerful, Frank, and you're right. I mean, I think, and if you look for negatives, and I think you started off by saying that, right? People look for perfection, but you're not going to find it. Hey, I'll tell you this much: you're not finding it in my marriage with me. My wife is amazing, but me, you won't find it in our families. Anything we want. So I think you're right. No, I think salutes to those who are joining us here on the stream here, Frank. And I think yes, it's Black History Month, and I think it's something to celebrate, uplift, and remember, it's not pulling down someone, it's celebrating all of us. So I think that's very important as well. And kudos to you for being an amazing Black man. And I want to put you in the spot real quick, Frank.
Sure.
But I'm going to do this and put you in the spot. Now, first of all, is your wife, if she speaks Spanish, meaning she's fluent, that's one of her major...
No, she is not fluent. She gets mad at her father about that.
Oh, okay.
So that might be for the next show to talk about that piece.
In that case, what I was going to ask you was...
She says I speak more Spanish than she does.
I wasn't sure in that case. I was going to ask you if your kids spoke, but I'll leave you alone because those couples where they say, "Oh yes, my other half," and I'm like, "Please tell me your kids speak Spanish." Yeah. But I'll let you all.
Our kids are learning. They went and saw their grandfather because it's my son's birthday, and he wanted to go see his poppy. A portion of our wedding ceremony was done in Spanish. My friend.
Nice.
A portion of our ceremony. So it's something that's there where we definitely work to incorporate both cultures. And as my wife says, as you said, our wives are better than we are when it comes to perfection, is she wants the kids to understand where they come from. And she's already putting together what we're going to do this summer and talking to her father saying, "Hey, Dad, I want you to show this to the kids. I want you to speak Spanish to them more," because she's like, I really want them to understand, because she goes, "Hey, there's certain family members that we are losing."
Yes. And,
I want the kids to understand, for me, as we go back to this and we'll transition but last year, my wife made it a big point. She goes, "I really want to understand where your family came from. My dad's from Louisiana. My mom's from South Carolina. We drove across the country 16 days in a car with kids." We drove back and forth. But the big one was, for me, that was important, was we went to my grandmother's house.
Right.
And my kids are playing in the backyard. I'm watching them run through the same field that I ran through when I was their age. So to be able to see that, as you said, as a Black man, just going, it's like, okay, wait, I have the ability to teach this, because people are like, oh, it's like, we have this oppression, everything we've been put down, but it's like, hey, I still have the ability to travel around the country and show my kids where we've grown, what's been going on. We've got the ability to do a conversation like this, because think about this one. It's only a short time, but 30 years ago, could you, me, and Robert be on a show like this? So that's the huge piece about this month is, to grow. So I'm going to transition into a question for both you and Robert. So Robert, are you here? Thumbs up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I came in and I had the wrong earbuds in, man. Why can't I hear them? I just came off another session and I was on a Clubhouse session. I was wearing my earbuds. And I'm like seeing your mouth moving. I'm saying, man, those guys are going in. Why can I not hear what they're saying?
Well, since you got the earpiece in and you can hear everything, I'm going to throw a question out to both of you right now. We're talking about Black History Month, and we're talking about the positive that we remember, because I tell people there's enough people who focus on the negative. What's one thing of positivity or growth that you experience either now or as a youth about Black History Month? Where's one moment that you remember just growing, whether it be personally or professionally, because of Black History Month?
Robert? Wow, I don't remember a specific moment. I think it was a conglomeration of moments. I think as you grow up and you hear history, right? So the things that I was taught in school were, Magellan sailed the ocean blue, Christopher Columbus discovered America, all of these things, but there was never anybody that looked like me. Maybe Martin Luther King was big enough, so I heard about him. Malcolm X was big enough, so I heard about him. Frederick Douglass was big enough, so I heard about him. Harriet Tubman was big enough, so I heard about her. But outside of those, I didn't really hear about the people that did things. So I remember the day that I found out that Garrett Morgan invented the stoplight or the traffic signals.
Which is a big deal, Robert. Which is a big the traffic light is a big deal. Go ahead. Yeah. So it was then that I kind of recognized, wait a minute. There are a lot of different things that we use. Yeah, we heard George Washington Carver that did all the experiments with peanuts and all of that, right? But there were I recognized after that point, or doing some research after that, there were so many things in our lives that we use on a day-to-day basis that were invented, were developed, were built by people that looked like me. Right. And so the question then was, OK, why was this stuff not in my history books? Why did I not learn this at PS 36 in the Bronx? Right. Or probably
PS 41.
They just had no room to put it. They probably meant to have it in there, but they just had no room for it. That's probably what happened. That's my guess,
Listen, whatever the case was, actually, no, it was PS 36 in Queens, PS 41 in the Bronx. Sorry about that. All right. For the New York purists. All right. So, I think really that is the piece of the Black History Month that stands out for me. Just really being able to remember the moments where I found out that, I'll say it this way, that I'm better than I was taught.
Loved it. What about you, Ramon?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to feed off what you just said, better than you're taught. I was volunteering for a school in Newark, New Jersey, and one of the young ladies said, and she still kind of has this mindset, Frank and Robert, that I can't be an accountant, I can't be a lawyer, I can't be a doctor. These quote unquote white collar, ironically, if you just heard what I just said, but anyways, white collar jobs. But she said, I can't do that. Therefore, people of other races, I'll put it that way. And so my point being, though, I was shocked, Frank, because I'd never heard it before. Based on how I grew up, where I've been around, I see the world as endless possibilities. When Barack Obama was elected as president, I didn't cry. I thought it was the most normal thing in the world. I'm a grown man, thinking this. But the point is, I realized there's a big segment of population that feels the same way Robert has kind of expressed, that I can't do it. Nobody looks like me. Because hence, as I was telling you before, Frank, for part of my years, I was growing up in a bubble, in a good way, meaning I was protected and sheltered. So I didn't realize it. So I think when I think of Black history, I can see why it's so needed, because I think everybody wants a hero. Everybody wants to be able to point to somebody that looks like them, the little boy in the wheelchair, the little girl who has this issue with her mind, or the man who has a heart issue. He wants to feel, oh, someone who's like me still can rise. And I think we all want a hero. So that's why I think it's so important.
And I love the way you both said that. It's the visibility piece. It's like the out of sight, out of mind type of deal. So we have to watch, how we all grew up. And for me to, want to share a story, then transition to our next spot was years ago, I was in charge of our county's Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. And they were having an essay contest. And because I was working behind the scenes, they've been pushing me because I wasn't a speaker yet. Frank, we need you to speak. I'm like, I'm not going to speak. I'm happy behind the scenes, making sure everything's going. So this young man comes up to me, goes, I'm looking for Mr. Kitchen. And I'm like, I'm Mr. Kitchen. And he goes, you can't be. And I was like, maybe 31, 32. He's like, you can't be. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're too young. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, the only people I see participating in events like this are old Black men.
Wow.
Like, wow. And that's when I understood to go, Frank, we need you to be a role model. We need you to step up front, because there's this age gap, this disparity of, we've got young men and we got older men, but where are the 20, 30, 40 somethings in the middle? And the reason I shared the story is I want you, Ramon, to go ahead and, transition on this one. Is you and I were talking before we jumped on, we were talking about business, and we're talking about solopreneurship. And I know many of us never grew up seeing other business people who looked like us. Correct. So I want to ask you right now, as we're going into 2021, you're a businessman. I've seen some of your posts on social media. What are some of the things right now as a solopreneur or CEO of your business? What are some things that you're working on right now to continue this growth, as we're talking about this month of growth? What are you doing to grow your business right now?
Yes, you and I.
Before you go there, did you say going into 21? You're like behind, bro. We're in February, brother. No. I'm just like, I want to pull your leg and call you out.
There you go.
Go ahead, man.
You want to say it again, Frank? You want to reverse the last 10 minutes of what you just said?
Let's go ahead. As this being a month of growth, it is February of 2021. And we need to showcase how we can grow as individuals, as humans, as everyone watching this show, pulling my leg.
Robert, that didn't sound like an apology, Robert. That didn't sound heartfelt. That didn't sound like he was really owning it. It sounded like he was like, sounded like he was honesty.
It sounded a little bit sarcastic to me, if you ask.
I really apologize. I am not reading a teleprompter right now.
All right, onward.
Take this sincerely to the camera.
Robert, don't forget when you trip and fall, Frank is going to be there, and I'm going to join him in that. So
I'll be there.
No, but seriously, Frank, you asked me, Frank, what I'm
Ladies
going
and gentlemen, I do apologize for getting off on the wrong foot there. Let me go back and start this question over. Gentlemen, we've talked about this being a month of growth, and we are looking to grow our businesses, and we're a month in right now. So what are some of the challenges that you are facing, and what are you doing to make sure that the next 10 and a half months are going to go great for you?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Frank. But here's the bottom line. As I talked to you offline and I posted in one of our mutual discussion groups, I think, Frank, I'm in what I call, I think I got this from Clayton Mask of Infusionsoft, the messy middle. There's those who are pure freelance business owners, and many of our peers, especially in the speaking industry, are that, and that's great. You know, one person business, you're doing that one project at a time. Others, of course, a few much larger companies, maybe they have a full-time employees of 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, $5 million businesses. I find myself, Frank, in that messy middle. I have a team of great people. I'm not that solo freelancer. We have multiple clients we're working with. All the work is not me, if that gets a sense of what I'm trying to say. So I think what I'm working at is better refining and defining what are my core systems and processes. I've been sniffing around the EOS model and related EOS entrepreneur operating system, I think, big 3 and things of that nature. 2, wondering, should I have a senior project manager or project manager, COO type person helping me do some things? And I have a great executive assistant, project manager already, but should I more formalize that and up level that? So those are some things I'm going through right now. And I think as far as business is concerned, I'll just shout out a few things. We have our 4 core events coming up this year, smarthustle.com/events. We have some clients that we've won. I'm very happy to do that, hosting some things for them. So that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Robert?
You know what? I'm glad that Ramon led off with that, because I think we're in a similar place with regard to scaling or figuring out what the next phase of business looks like. Yeah. So I've definitely gone through the process of being that solopreneur, being that freelancer, and doing a lot of different things, and having team members, having VAs, having bookkeepers, having all those people. But now also in a place where, I've got these people that are around me, and a few of them have been with me for at least 3 years at this point. And so I've got some solid people. But now also you get to the point where you start to wonder, or you start to process and evaluate, am I just a business owner or am I a CEO? Does my mindset operate from that of, okay, let me see how many of these things I can do with my hands, or do I think about things from a strategic standpoint? How do I generate these results, and what are the resources, and who are the resources that I might need in order to generate these results? And then how do we leverage or step up from there once we generate those results? Because if you generate the type of success that you want, then it's not like you've reached this destination. You're kind of like, okay, cool, 4th quarter, game's over, let me go. You've got to, there's the next thing. So how do you create that momentum? How do you create that sustainability? So as I go into this year, as I go further into this year, I'm looking at, okay, what are the things that I need to create? And how do I create, sustainable business models that work for me, that work for us, for my family, for the lifestyle that I want?
Love it. Yeah, I listened to the one thing that both of you are saying, and I would love for you to share right now with everybody who's watching and listening, is you talked about there is a business owner mindset and there's a CEO mindset. I would love for one of you to take the lead on that one. What is the difference between just acting as a business owner and then being a CEO?
I'll take a stab at it. I may get it wrong, but Robert, we'll see what happens. Because I would say it a little different, but I think as far as me, I think as far as a business owner, I think you're in the weeds a lot more. You have trouble delegating. You're in the weeds a lot more. You're not looking at the future. I think as a CEO mindset, and Robert, let me know what you think if I'm on the right track, or Frank as well, is that as a CEO, you may have to do all that because I know me, I'm a very small business owner, but the mindset is more of always asking who's on my team. Do I have the right people on my team? And I think one thing that I'm seeing difference is my one key job is to inspire my team, provide leadership and vision, and make sure I can empower them. I think that's probably the biggest difference is that, if there's a building to be built, not that I can't pick a brick up and do it, but no, I want to find the best person to make bricks. In fact, I may make them breakfast so they can build the building. If that kind of makes sense what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love what Ramon said, and that's spot on. I want to add one more piece to this and just kind of a different perspective, an additional perspective to this. So a business owner has started the business, is the founder of the business, and therefore has a little bit more emotional connection to the business. So they are a little bit more protective of certain things. They want to have their hands in certain things. A CEO does not necessarily need to be the owner or the founder of that business. Right. We look at Facebook. We look at Tesla. We look at Amazon. Right. Jeff Bezos is stepping down now as the CEO of Amazon, and he's got somebody else that's stepping in. Right. So he no longer necessarily needs to make certain decisions. The CEO, who is not emotionally tied to, oh, my gosh, this is my baby that I birthed. Right. He now gets to think about things from a more strategic standpoint and say, OK, yep, you can do this. You can do this. This team, this unit, this department, these are the resources that we need. And this is how we can manage all of this to get to this point or to scale further. So that I wanted to add that additional layer of perspective to this.
Hey, Frank, do you mind if I push back on something? And Frank, can I ask you a question? If you can riff into this. We often use examples, Robert, and I appreciate it. I would use the same ones because I don't think many of us know a larger small business. But Frank, how can we take the lessons of these icons of business that we all look to, though, and make it for a $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $500,000 company? Is there a small business version of what they're doing? And feel free to do a double pushback, Robert. There's a lot of pushbacks here, but Frank, I'd like your input on that meeting because that's where I want to go to. I must say, I'm probably not going to sell my business for the foreseeable future because I just don't want to. I'm happy how it's going, but yet I do want the systems and processes, leadership. If you get what I'm trying to ask, Frank.
I see where you're going because when I work with a group out here, you're Smart Hustle. I work with a group out here in Phoenix called Hustle Phoenix, and we talk to the business owners. We're taking them from this business to the CEO mindset and explaining to them. I say, you know what? I was like, the processes are the same. The end results are different. So Jeff Bezos is thinking about billions, and the person down here in the restaurant maybe thinking about 100,000. But they're still going to have to think about how do I treat my employees, how do I treat my staff, how do I market? And the thing I think that is the same is it's just the strategic, planning and execution of that plan. Is you just can't go into it like, hey, I'm just going into work today. I'm taking care of myself. No, you've got either a staff who's looking up to you. You've got your clients who are looking or expecting a certain type of result. So there's a lot more planning going into it. And like what Robert said is, it's not, you have to start to separate the heart from the brain because people go, it's like, oh, it's like, I've got to do it. I've been doing this for 20 years. It's like, but yeah, now you opened up your bakery and guess what? You're saying you want it to grow. And in order to grow, you have to step out. Right. And, it amazes people, you two are speakers, all of us are speakers, but when I explain to people, I go, 80% of what I do is not speaking. It's like, I love speaking because guess what? That's the icing on the cake. Yeah. Like, but the rest of the planning details are where I have to have this CEO mindset of going, this is a smart business decision. This is an economical one. This might hurt somebody's feelings, but guess what? This is good for the business. That's the tough part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Robert, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I agree. I think what Frank said that was really kind of wraps all of this up is really just it's about the mindset. And when we talk about separating heart from brain, I mean, the small business owner, the $1-2 million business owner can function in the way that they function without necessarily having an external CEO person. They can still have the founder and the owner and all of that functioning as the CEO. But again, it's really about what's the end result that you want. So one of the things that I do, I'm a lead faculty in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And as a part of that program, one of the things...
Robert, you got to say that slowly. I mean, come on. I mean, it's like,
Goldman Sachs, we're happy to work for them. It's okay.
So one of the questions that we ask in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program is, what is your exit strategy? And a lot of people, they enter business without thinking about do I want to get off the exit ramp at some point? What is this thing that I am building, and do I want to keep this forever? Do I want it to die with me? Do I want to sell it? What do I want to do with this? And so when you start thinking about that piece of things, now your mind is not as emotionally attached to certain things. You realize, okay, I have some options. First of all, I've got some different ways that I could do this thing. And so now I need to think about, strategize, or think strategically about how to get to that place as effectively, efficiently, and as quickly as possible.
I love it. I think it's powerful. And I think that aspect is, you're right. And I guess for me, I always think as well, which is why I call it that messy middle. I don't know, Robert, it's you're right. I should be thinking of what's the legacy, or am I going to sell, whatever it is. But I think I will say the other thing I've been getting at, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, Frank, or not, but it's just wealth building. I don't know if we touched on it all. We talked about, okay, yeah. So that's the part I'm looking at, because it's been new for me. Talking about, we just talked about Black history, but it wasn't educated with me of how to do it and these things. So that part, and maybe that's a phase one. I've just been thinking I have to make sure Smart Hustle works for me, and not me working for Smart Hustle, as it were. So that's the journey I'm on right now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. And that's the perfect lead-in for my next question, which I'm enjoying this hosting piece. So thank you so much, because you two get to share all the knowledge that you got.
But it's good that you have the more difficult job. Robert, bless his soul, the first one, he's typing, looking at 10 million screens, asking questions. And then today I was trying to do that. So that's good, Frank. You're doing a good job. Go ahead.
Yeah. But we're talking about growth. We're talking about mindset CEO. So one of the things about being the CEO and having this growth mindset is we have to start to try to make predictions for the future. And obviously the three of us, with the work that we do, we definitely have to look into this, future. We're in this time of COVID, a lot of unpredictability. What are some things that you are seeing, or that you're predicting or sharing with your clients here for 2021? I mean, what are your predictions? Like what's going to happen here in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, from simply a communication standpoint, what we're seeing with virtual meetings, with Zoom and all of that, and virtual events, that's not going to fully go away, like, ever again. Right? A lot of companies, a lot of events companies, a lot of meeting planners, organizations, they're saying, okay, when we're past this, or when things go back to normal, what's happening is that companies are now realizing, wait a minute, you mean I don't need to pay $200,000 to fly everybody in for this one-day meeting that's really just like 3 hours, but we've got to pay 3 days and fly them both ways and put everybody up in hotels? You mean we don't have to do that anymore?
My staff is more productive from home, and I don't have to rent out or lease this building anymore?
Yep, that's right. Nobody had to call in and say, I have to get my kid from here, or can I take my car to get washed? Why? Because we know it's okay. And not you and I per se, but those who work in corporate America, I need to take off 2 hours during the day because I'm working from 10 to 12 at night, which is, I want to eat dinner with my wife at 11 a.m. I'm giving it back later on. So I think you're right. But I think that going back to that prediction, I think for me, it's not really a prediction. We know it. But I think the one thing out of a few things I'm looking at, besides stocks and Robinhood and all that kind of good stuff, GameStop, besides all that, is the aspect of a hybrid events. I think that's really what I can't wait to do. Frank and Robert, I can't wait. As you guys know, I live in the New York area. I can't wait to take a train ride to Midtown Manhattan, stand on a stage with 3 camera, 4 cameras, shoot whatever it is, maybe 10 people, 20 people, 50 people in the audience, and live stream that to thousands, getting, hey, everybody out there in Denver. I can't wait to do my first one of those. Not this. I mean, with some professional So that's the one thing I'm excited. Even 100 people, which is small for what we're used to, but a smaller event broadcast globally. That I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm loving that because I think also about the whole Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve approach, right? So Dick Clark is in New York. You've got somebody in San Francisco. You've got somebody in Tampa Bay. You got somebody else in Chicago. And all of these people are waiting for the same event. And so you're just popping back and forth between all these people. So that is going to become even more regular, or that will become our normal in some ways.
Yeah. Yep. And Robert, you got a person commenting there. Chris Stone, another baller, active on Clubhouse and more. Yes, Robert Kennedy III. This is not going back to normal. Those of us who are innovating now will win when we get to the other side of this pandemic. Right. For sure. Thanks, Chris, for being here.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I've seen too many business owners and speakers that are crossing their arms and going, I'm just going to wait. And I'm going, you're going to be out of business if you just keep waiting. Because like you said, they're going, it's going to get back to normal. And I was talking with the CEO a few weeks ago. And when I made the prediction, I go, it's like you will not see a large in-person event this year. And he's like, what? I was like, you'll see small ones, or like you said, the hybrid ones. I was like, by late third quarter, fourth quarter. And it blew his mind. He goes, why? He's like, they have to rent these event spaces out 6 months to a year. Or like I had a group right now. They go, Frank, can we push back to 2024? Because the stadium won't be open again until 2024 because they got to cycle through because they had 3-year contracts at different event places.
Wow.
Hold on 1 second. So Ramon, you realize what's happening here, right? We are in the presence of royalty because this company wants Frank so bad that they're like, listen, we're willing to wait 3 years for you, bro. What's your schedule like in 2025?
Robert, you're predicting that I'll still be in this in 3 years. So I feel good about that one.
But don't you think, Robert, that like any celebrity that he needs like a, what do you call the act that comes on first? Yeah, warm up. Come on, Robert. He needs at least an actor come on for 25 minutes at our 150% rate. Thank you. Do a little bit of free. I come on before you, Robert.
Behind the speaking, way back in 2021, Ramon Ray opened up for 2024 for Frank Kitchen, and
there we go.
From there, now Frank works for him.
We'll bring our families together, indeed.
Yeah.
We don't mean to be laughing about it, or I guess we do, but the big thing is, as we're saying, we do have to start to look forward. Too many of these business owners are looking just to like next week or 2 weeks out. And what we're all three of us are saying right now is like, we have to look, start to forecast further out and really prepare for it. And not live in these old days, because especially now, like I got a friend, he's there in NYU. One of the professors said at NYU he goes, COVID just, he's like this, sped up the process. He goes, all the things that are happening now were already in the pipeline. He goes, it just sped it up.
Yep. I had a workshop the other day with a client, and they brought me in because they were having trouble with connecting or engaging their employees. And they said, what are we doing wrong? They kind of walked me through what they were doing. And ultimately, I got to the place with them where I said, you know what? You're doing the same things that you've always done. The only thing that's happening now is that COVID has exposed some of the things that you took for granted before. Right. So you're in this conference room and you're operating in a certain way. You plan your meetings poorly. You communicate poorly. I didn't say to them those words, but you do it in this way. And people are in the conference room, so they're forced to sit there looking at you. They're forced to stay in the room. Now they can turn off their cameras. now they can walk away. They can go make a snack while you're talking and just kind of zone out because they know that you ramble. They know that you do this. They know. So now you have to be more intentional about how you communicate and connect and engage with people. And if you do that well now, when we do get back to a space when you have people in front of you and in person, you'll be even better then.
Yeah,
because you're more intentional.
Yeah, and I got to throw this one out, being intentional, Robert, because I've seen this discussion going around. So we're all getting used to this virtual world. We're developing the muscle memory and the habits of, all right, let me just go roll into the camera here in my house. That's my commute.
Yeah.
But what's your recommendation for people once we get back in person? Because they said we've got to be bigger, more animated on camera. But now once we get in front of people, we're going to have all this energy and excitement. It's like, oh my God, I have not been in front of people in a year and a half. And like, you're going to have this camera mentality. How should people prepare to transition into getting back in front of people? Because everything now is just big and boisterous and in your face. But now it's going to be different, just seeing people's faces in person.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to go, Ramon?
I was going to say, I have a course for that. So, Frank, I'm going to sell it to you. It's $99 a month, but, $49 if you want to buy it. But I hear you, Frank, and I think it's an interesting point. We're so used to video, kind of like a prisoner getting out of prison. I'm making this up. I'm not sure if it's true, or in the military. When you get out of the military, they have a little bit of training to reacclimate you, I think is the word. I love big words, gentlemen. Sometimes I say off a syllable or two. So feel
syllabic.
What is it?
Multi-syllabic words.
Too, yes. But they have to reacclimate them to getting back into civilian life. So I think that's interesting. You're right. But I have a feeling, Frank, for me, you and Robert, once we hit that live stage and feel that with a few hundred people in front of us, I think we're going to rock it and be well. Because I think that you're right. But I think that nothing beats that hug, that touch, that handshake, that human touch. So I think when we hit that stage, I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. It's going to be rocket. And if I may mention, Frank, one more thing. Scott brought up something that was interesting. And I think is interesting, but y'all can help me unpack it. And what I think he's saying here, since we've been online, we are all a dime a dozen to one degree, because there's now, I can get access to a mindset speaker anywhere on the planet. I can get access to a communication speaker anywhere. I can get access to another guy who can talk about entrepreneurship anywhere. So I think that's an interesting thing that Scott brings up, is that we all have to up our game. Personal branding, as y'all both know, is a big thing for me. I think so. I don't fear it. I have a strong community, blessed that I have a very niche community of these large brands. But I think for speakers listening, we all have to level up our game, because if the moment Ramon can't show up or doesn't work, that's okay, Ramon, no problem. Becky's only a Zoom click away. We'll get her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what we were saying before, man. This is an opportunity for us to really, again, use the word intentional, be more intentional, use Ramon's word, to level up our game, because we've been getting away with bad behavior before. We've been getting away with status quo and being able just to lean on our laurels or past performance. And now we're in this place where we're like, okay, I have got to figure out how to reach this specific audience. I've got to make that audience the center, whether they are online or whether they're in person, or whether it's both. My gosh, now how do I talk to an audience, but at the same time talk to screens and make the people behind those screens feel like they're a part of what's going on here? So as speakers, as business leaders, as communicators, we now have to adopt a different mindset that is much broader and considerate of all of the different spaces that people are in. That's kind of like what teachers have to do in the classroom.
And as you're saying, pretty much what we have to do is, we have to strive for, quote, a greatness. And we were talking earlier, you can't strive for perfection. You can strive to be great. You can strive to be better. And, the first 6 months to a year, everybody got used to the Zoom and the person in the corner. But then now we've got high-tech cameras and backdrops and stages and hybrid. And that's just business. You have to evolve to stand out from the crowd. Speaking of which, standing out from the crowd, we've got a few minutes left here, and I'd be remiss not to talk about it. We know that last night was one of the biggest nights of the year in the United States. It was Super Bowl Sunday. So it's going to be a two-part question, gentlemen. Number one was, what was your Super Bowl go-to snack yesterday? And then number two is, we're talking about just striving for greatness, and you don't have to be a fan of his or not, but you've got Tom Brady, 21 years in the NFL, and every other year he has been in the Super Bowl. And when he was in the Super Bowl, he closed 70% of the time. I mean, how many people wouldn't want to have that business growth and success? So what was your go-to food, and what do you think about, Tom Brady or anybody maintaining this excellence for that period of time?
Yeah. So I don't know about snacks. We had pizza. So that's what we ate. Right? My wife and I at the beginning of the day, we're like, what do you feel like for dinner or for Super Bowl tonight? I'm like, you know what? I want some pizza. So there's this one place in Maryland here that has pizza that's the closest to what I grew up on in New York. So I was like, yes, we got to go to Squisitos. We got to shout out to Squisitos. All right. So as far as the game, though, I actually did a Facebook Live this morning where I spoke about, I had to admit for the first time out loud, out of my mouth, that Tom Brady is the GOAT. He really is. As I mentioned, I grew up in New York. So growing up in New York, Yankees, you're automatically a Red Sox hater. Growing up in New York, you're automatically a Patriots hater. So Tom Brady leaves the Patriots. I don't care. You're a Patriot for life. We still hate you. We still don't like you, right? So, but seeing what he was able to do, and somebody brought this statistic out this morning as I was reading. There have been 55 Super Bowls in NFL history. Tom Brady's been to 10 of them. That's 18% of like every Super Bowl ever. Yeah. So he leaves a team and people say, oh, it was Bill Belichick. It was the system. It was, et cetera. He goes to an entirely different team, an entirely different system, an entirely different coach, and is still able to elevate everyone else around him to a certain point so that they can reach the ultimate prize. You got to bow down and respect that, man.
And Robert, there's a book out,
yeah,
which echoes what you just said. And Frank or Robert, do you know the book? It's a book that talks about, interviewed 100 sports people by a New York Times writer who covered sports or something. And it talked about what a true leader is or something. It was, they interviewed all these people and said, it's not the one who does the most points. It's the one who rallies the people. I get goosebumps. I heard the interview and I'm going to have to go back and Google it. It's a famous, either Wall Street Journal or New York Times writer. And they wrote a book about sports. But to your point, Robert, I think you're right. I think that, yes, systems and all those things matter, but we have to give credit. We have to give homage to individuals who are ballers, who can make stuff work. And don't we see that in the speaking industry? I'll give a few credits to my peers here. This is not a scripted show, meaning Frank's not looking at some prompter. He's just using his genius to move a show along. This is what professionals do. So I must say, and I think it encourages me because everybody can be this Robert. Everybody can be Tom Brady. But everybody can be excellent in what they do. Think of the three of us. I'm just niching to a degree. Frank's mindset guy. I can't. It's not my thing. Robert, communication, his thing. Me, personal branding and entrepreneurship. So I'm fired up. So I love that. And a confession. I didn't watch the game.
Don't worry. There were 60,000 cutouts last night who didn't watch the game.
They paid $100 each, though.
I know they still make money. There's always a creative way. But the piece as we start to wrap up here, gentlemen, is for the people who are watching who didn't know this, the one piece that hit me about the Super Bowl last night is I'm out here in Arizona. So Bruce Arians was a coach out here, and I've seen him watch his community service work. So I really just like the way he leads. But the way he leads is, if people haven't watched, this is Black History Month. March is Women's History Month. And for the first time ever with his staff, and he's been fighting for it, his three main coaches were all African Americans. His offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator, and his special teams. Plus, he has two females on the staff who are the first two women to ever win Super Bowl rings. So that's the big piece as we wrap this thing up today, is we've been talking about this growth and knowledge and pretty much exposure. When we have exposure to history and knowledge, we can grow. And with that being said, we want to expose our listeners here. We got to thank everybody for listening and dropping in the comments. What would you like to leave them with, everybody here, for the next 2 weeks till we come back again? What can we expose them to as far as your knowledge, your expertise that can help them grow here during 2021?
Yeah, for me, I'll just say I think really get over fear. I think it's not something I've written about it at depth, but it's something I've seen. We all fear. We're all afraid. And this is something I always say. It's what we do with it, I think, that makes a difference. And I think always keep learning, Frank. And you've been a great host. Robert?
Love it. I think in going back to the Tom Brady example, we see Tom Brady on the stage. We see the highlight reel. We see what's out front. But behind all of that is what he does daily, consistently, at sunrise, at sunset, when nobody's looking. What is the thing that he does? I mean, Tom Brady everybody, we talk about all the time how he can't really run, right? He's not a great runner. He's not very mobile in the pocket. But what he can do, he does well, and he works at it tirelessly, relentlessly, so that he can be among the best, if not the best, in the industry, in the field. So for each individual here, what is your thing? You may not know what it is just yet. It may not be your best thing. It may not even be the thing that you feel called to do. But what is the thing that you can work at consistently and become better at, so that when all is said and done, that's the thing that people begin to know you for, because you put in the work.
Yep. And I can't really add much to that because, you know, you're two brilliant men, and I still have to apologize to you for what I said earlier. So I have to bow down to the greatness.
See, Frank, you can't,
clearly, there's no teleprompter with that one at all.
Robert, you can't rip Frank properly. He doesn't give you that pleasure. He just rolls with it. You know what I mean?
You gotta give him small angles so you can't hit me straight on. But I hope everybody's watching this. You know, we're developing a friendship, and this is just something that, you know, people don't see, and because they don't see it, they don't think that it's there. So the big piece that we wrap up with this one is, everybody, is if you don't see it, go out and look for it. Go out and find it. It is out there. So as Robert said earlier about Black history, is like, hey, it's just something that he hadn't seen yet. He got that exposure with, you know, Ramon just talking about all these different businesses and groups and what is out there, and giving all the links to the different places, including the pizza place. It's just all about exposure. Everybody is just go out there. There he goes. Is it Squisitos? Make sure I say it correct.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
we got a sponsor come up, but the big one is
exactly. Now we got to call them. Yeah, there we go.
Share that knowledge, share those experiences to, you know, just go out there and keep everybody growing. But until then, we hope that you join us again in 2 weeks as we're here to talk about family, life, culture, and lollipops. We're three bald speakers. I got Robert Kennedy. I got Ramon Ray. My name is Frank Christian. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
See ya.